counter-infiltration, which is purely the army's responsibility, has been very effective this year. If Pakistan wishes, if the terrorists wish and they want to do something drastic to increase the number of terrorists in the valley, they will attempt to push despite whatever casualties occur. Now, this is something that the army is prepared for. So 1 year is too small a time, and particularly a year which has happened with so many events. I foresee that the next year will be a much more important year.
Hello and welcome to India News TV here in Brisbane. Today we are bringing to you a very fascinating and insightful interview with Lieutenant General Syed Hasnain, who is one of India's most powerful defense analysts, and also he has a vast experience as one of the most successful corps commanders of the Indian Army, especially when he was posted in Jammu and Kashmir. Lieutenant General Syed Hasnain writes regularly columns in various national and international newspapers, and is also regularly appearing in TV news channels in India discussing India's security and developments in Jammu and Kashmir. We caught up with Lieutenant General Syed Hasnain in an interview to specifically discuss with him how he sees the development in Jammu and Kashmir ever since Article 370 was abrogated last year by the Indian government, and what impact has that decision had on various facets of Jammu and Kashmir, such as security situation, the development prospects, public perceptions, and how do people now look at their own future in Jammu and Kashmir. So we caught up with Lieutenant General Syed Hasnain to discuss some of these issues. Let's take a listen. Thank you, General Atta Hasnain, for joining us today on India News TV on YouTube, sir. It is a profound pleasure to have you with us to talk about an issue which is extremely important, not only for India, but also for the region and globally. And you have been in the armed forces. Now you are a strategist. You write and speak on strategic matters, including on regional disputes and conflicts, and also on Jammu and Kashmir. So with regards to the armed forces, do they think they are better off in terms of handling things post 5th August, sir?
Okay, let's look at it this way. The armed forces they look upon their job, no doubt, that the neutralization of terrorists and neutralizing some of the systems which ensure the sustenance of terrorists is their responsibility. To that extent, counter-infiltration, which is purely the army's responsibility, has been very effective this year. And that's why, as I just quoted the figures, that the confirmed figures are approximately 26 terrorists have been able to infiltrate. Just as a comparison, let me tell you, in the year 2001, we must have estimated that more than 2,000 terrorists had infiltrated. By the time, I remember when I was the corps commander in 2011, the overall figures of that year were approximately between 40 to 55. So this year we are into August already, 8 months are almost over, and the figures are just 26. So this is almost like setting a record this year. And with the more induction of troops, with much more use of technology, we have definitely been able to bring the control over counter-infiltration or over infiltration. But if Pakistan wishes, if the terrorists wish and they want to do something drastic to increase the number of terrorists in the valley, they will attempt to push despite whatever casualties occur. Now, this is something that the army is prepared for. So these are the kind of contingencies that the army is definitely prepared for. What is happening in the hinterland is that intelligence has improved by many miles and is flowing into the intelligence agencies. The Jammu and Kashmir police is picking up a tremendous amount. This is one of the manifestations of particularly the pro-India sentiment. A lot of people may not agree with me, but I would say that at the ground level, when people start passing information, intelligence to the police and other agencies, this is one of the indicators that they are coming on board. And we are having almost an operation a day as far as South Kashmir is concerned. And that's the reason why almost 150 terrorists, this number has gone well past last year's figure also. So we'll probably be ending up the year with more than 250 terrorists eliminated. And that's the total strength of terrorists in the valley. So if infiltration is under control and if recruitment is under control, then the army will probably look at the end of the year to see a situation where the strength of terrorists is actually less than 100. So I think the army is very, very geared up, very enthusiastic about this, but they expect that they will be supported on the governance and administrative front. And at the same time, in the outreach front. For too long have people depended on the army for what is called Operation Sadbhavna, which is essentially a hearts and minds program to reach out to the people. This ownership of Sadbhavna cannot be just the army's ownership. This has to be a national ownership. It has to be undertaken by every single department of the government of India and the government of the state of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, sir. That we need a very sort of inclusive approach where we bring in various arms.
It's often called the all of government approach. All of government approach.
All of government approach. Absolutely, sir. Sir, my next question is that I mean, in popular perceptions and also in academic writing, and there's also many people have written on it at length, that Article 370 was seen to be anti-development or discriminatory against women and caste and a whole lot of on religion. It was quite anti-discriminatory and anti-development. So what is your view on that?
When Article 370 was enacted and 35A was enacted later on, and 35A was actually signed, proclaimed virtually, I don't think the intent was in any way discriminatory at that time. But it just turned out to be that way, and we allowed it to drift that way. For example, the West Pakistan refugee issue. Now, the West Pakistan refugees have been languishing since then, since 1947, 48, 49, without any decision on their citizenship. For 70 years, you allow a segment of people who have come into your country who are really Indians and who need to be counted as citizens, just because for political reasons you didn't want the demographic change to happen, you don't allow them to claim their citizenship. But that way it was discriminatory, no doubt. It was discriminatory for women particularly because a Kashmiri woman or Jammu and Kashmir citizen getting married to someone outside would lose all rights of citizenship thereafter. Every right that she enjoyed as a citizen of Jammu and Kashmir, she would lose. This is what has been restored. Her rights have been restored by the abrogation of Article 370. And similarly, many of the measures that under the Constitution of India which protect many of the weaker segments of society in the rest of India, these were not extended to the similar weaker sections of society in Jammu and Kashmir. So definitely there was a perception, and it was a correct perception about Article 370. But what actually happened was that Article 370 and 35A became a holy cow in the sense that everyone thought that touching this even with a barge pole is going to invite such a response and a reaction from within that it will become uncontrollable. That is the perception with which we lived even with the security forces for many years, to the extent that even mainstream politicians expressed this very openly, that you try and meddle with Article 370 and the exclusivity of Jammu and Kashmir as a state, then you are playing with fire, and that's the last that India will see of J&K being a part of India. It's words to that effect. These were very strong sentiments which were given out even by mainstream politicians. And therefore, the decision had to be a transformational decision. You couldn't meddle around with this playing cosmetically here and there. And that's why I think it was a very, very brave decision and a correct decision.
Next one, sir, quickly. So in the valley now, are people hopeful about their future in terms of the prospects of jobs? Now that there is a possibility people may invest, companies and entities may invest in Jammu and Kashmir. So the chances of jobs and better economy all these things post 5th August are picking up?
Again, I will say that 1 year is too small a time, and particularly a year which has happened with so many events. The required energy to move towards the demonstration of the effects of the abrogation of Article 370, that has really not happened in such a manner because of the challenges posed by the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, and the severe winter before that, and the control of the stabilization, the bringing about of stabilization on the streets of Jammu and Kashmir. I foresee that the next year will be a much more important year. And this year, the hopes have been created. There is a lot of negativism, let's admit it, that we will be pulling wool over our eyes if we think that every single Kashmiri is on the street and bringing out pro-India slogans. No, that is not true. But definitely his confidence to be looking at Pakistan or looking at Azadi has definitely been dented to a huge extent. And therefore, the march towards becoming mainstreamed as a part of the rest of India, as an equal citizen of India, with no exclusivity attached to Jammu and Kashmir, that is the path which I think we are rightly on at this juncture after 1 year.
Thank you very, very much, General Hasnain. If you like this video, please press the like button. Also, share your views in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe to India News TV for more such updates. Thank you for watching.